All right. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be recording a deck tech with Austin Somers, who recently placed top 8 in the U.S. Nationals with none other than Prism, Awakener of Soul.
We
Um,
did it.
yep. And so, thank you for joining us, Austin. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you, including where you're from and your card game history?
Absolutely. So as you can see on the screen below, my name is Austin Summers. I have been playing card games for since I was like 15, 16, which is like 14 years now. When I was younger, when I was like 15, 16, I was playing online on like this little like Yu-Gi-Oh simulator back in the day. Um, I quit Yu-Gi-Oh eventually when I was 18 because I don't know. I was tired of getting scammed as a kid. I think I traded like a Paul Duality for a Stardust Dragon once. That
Nice.
didn't feel good. Yeah, that's pretty pog. That was when Paul Duality was like 120. So I got tired of that. Went like anime card games. Uh, Played like Vanguard, which is still kicking today. Buddy Fight, which is the game I focused on for a very long time. Yeah.
And how do you do in Buddy
Which
Fight?
I did very well. There wasn't anything crazy pricing wise, but first place at like a regional event would get you a free flight to Japan plus like hotel cost for like a few days. So I ended up that was like always my goal. So I'd win that, like win a national event or win a regional event, fly to Japan every year. I won one world championship. I think the first one I attended, I won, and after that, I'll be honest, kind of stopped caring because it was like there's no prize. Once there's no prize for winning worlds. Like it's just the title of I won worlds. I'm
Yeah,
super cool.
you were the
Uh,
world
you get,
champion.
yeah, you get a trophy. But there was no like true pricing, so I never really cared. So once I got to Japan from regionals, I stopped playtesting, and I would just go to worlds. I just have a good time. Um, Happened every year. It happened for 6 years. COVID happened. Everything shut down. Um, that's when I heard about Flesh and Blood. Was around that time. I wasn't a big fan of Magic, so I didn't really like the art style too much. Um, until I until I saw Dromine and I saw the allies, and I was like, "Oh, allies, dude, get out of town." So that's when I got into playing Flesh and Blood. A little bit before then, um, but I really started to pick the game up with Dromine. And yeah, I played a few other games around here and there. I played Battle Spirits as well. I won the Grand Open for that. A few years back. The game never really clicked with me like Flesh and Blood did. And I've never really done anything really important in Flesh and Blood. I just really like how the game plays. And I really like how like the community is, and also I really like. I think the way LSS handles its community interactions is like super cool compared to every other game I've ever played. So I've been like loyal to this game. I've played a few others on the side here and there.
Definitely, definitely. All right. So in Flesh and Blood, I've always known you as a Prism main, but Part the Misfail introduced a new illusionist who I know you were also interested in. When did you
Yeah.
decide that you would bring Prism to nationals, and why did you choose her over Enigma?
So it was like a few different things at once, right? So the first thing was when I saw Enigma came out, I was really interested in her. Um, I don't like her as much because I like the ally stuff a bit more, but I do, you can see my list. I do enjoy playing like Aura Game Plan, Aura Control. I have Iris in this list. Spoiler alert, if you have never seen this list before. So I enjoy playing with that like gameplay style. Um, and I went to Japan for the for the pre-release event, I was gonna go to Japan anyway. Just wanted to go there and so it was perfect timing.
The world
And I got
premiere,
to play a
right?
little, yeah, and I got to play with her a little bit. She's really fun. Um, but it's just there's a few different things. Like the first thing was would I have enough time to really like master her within the few weeks of her release to when she's actually like a national event, right? Um, Compared to like how much time I've had on Prism. I've been playing this new version of Prism since she had her bad weapon. So like I know like how I can deal with really bad hands. I can know I can deal with like so many game states. So I don't have to learn like a new deck versus like 10 different classes, right? Um, it is you're taking this aura gameplay style, you're moving it over, so it's not too crazy. Um, but I just didn't feel like I had enough time to prepare for it. And then after I did some testing with like Alex uh, and Bryce and a few other teammates, I came to realize like, oh, Prism beats Zen, which is was at the time everyone was like, "Yo, have you heard of the Zen deck? It's super cool. It's oh, you get a cat and then you banish the cat. You draw 2 cards. You draw 5 more cards, and then you plus 10, and then you kill them. It's insane." And I was like, "Oh wow, well, what do you just play ALS? And you can't do anything." So the more I played it, the more I'm like, okay, Prism has a really good matchup into Ninja. It's historically has this new the new weapon. It's had a really good matchup into Ninja for a while now. And Enigma feels like Droma, which has not the greatest matchup into uh, Ninja. So I decided at that point, okay, I don't feel like I have time to prepare it anyways, and I already feel like if Zen is going to be the big dog, I'll take the gamble on more Zen's appearing and not play Enigma and have like a Dromai versus Phi Nightmare like I used to. So took the gamble, it paid off. I played against 4 Zen in CC, so worked out pretty well.
Nice. Makes sense. Good reasoning to me. What was your classic constructed record overall?
Overall, it was 7-1. I
In
played
Swiss,
against
right? Yeah.
in Swiss, yeah, in Swiss before going to top eight. It was 7-1. I beat 3 Enigma. Or sorry, how much I beat 3 Zen, and I beat 3 New. Um, I beat an Azalea, and then my one loss was to Evan, the Zen who won the tournament.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I was like, oh, well, Zen, he's Zen. At least I lost to him. Um, But that game was also really weird because it was just I remember like the first opening hand was 4 blues and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure I lose this game every time. Um, but it gave me a few like insights on maybe how I should reconstruct this deck, which we can get into later.
For
Um,
sure.
but yeah,
Yeah,
felt
let's.
really good. Felt really good.
Of course, of course. Yeah, let's hop into the actual deck tech. We can start with the weapons and equipment. A few things that stand out to me are the inclusion of both Luminaris, and in your sideboard you also have Iris of Reality. Um, and then you have two different arms pieces in Vambrace and Stonewall Gauntlet, which we didn't really see in lists pre Part the Mistveil. And then you only have one chess piece in your list, which is Vestige of
Mhm.
Soul, no Imperium Rapture. So we can talk about the different weapons as we discuss the matchups later, but how good was Stonewall Gauntlet for you this weekend, or during Nationals weekend, and why are you only playing Vestige of Soul?
So to start with Stonewall Gauntlet, it works perfect. In by perfect, I mean Allegiance has no other like good arm piece. I don't play the aggro race like heralds with the pumps and the rapture. Like that's not my list. So since I'm not playing those cards, turning off Phantasm with Dreamweavers, I believe it is, does nothing for me. Like it's like I cool, sometimes like I'm just gonna like, I kind of want this to hit sometimes. Let me turn off Erudition and hope it works. But it's not like where I'm playing the Prism list that have the pumps, and I can go, okay, I drew a pump plus Erudition. Let me just turn off my Phantasm and make the turn like go crazy. So I don't have that ability. So typically, what goes in that place uh is it what is the one that makes a spectral shield?
Wave of
Forget the name of it.
Reality.
Wave of Reality, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, Wave of Reality goes in that spot, which is a block too. This is also block two. Uh, Blocks something that has higher power, -1 on that attack, and then obviously blocking one as well. Um, and there's more cards than you'd think. Like I didn't think at first I'm like, oh, this is only really good against Zen, but then like as I kind of played, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of opportunity for this to really like activate. Like against let's go like New for example. Um, Obviously if she hits with her weapon, the blue dagger, that gives blue go again. Well, that gives +1 automatically. Okay, now Stonewall Gauntlet will block any one power blue and minus it. So obviously they have to play the reaction to it. So you automatically just block that attack, even if it has go
Right.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another one it blocks out is the one that the scrap card. You banish a 1 power card. It gets plus power +1 and go again.
Looking for scrap. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. Hits that as well. Uh, Against like Leviah and KO, you do it on their Blood Rush turns. KO is always making a Might token. Um, there's and then like against Warrior, it's just an attack. It's not an attack action, so obviously they play a lot of pumps. Um, and then I mean obviously against Zen and Katsu, like just
Yeah,
any
you can
time
get a
during a
lot
combo
more.
turn.
You can get a
Exactly, you
lot
can
more
get
than
so
two value on that one in those
exactly,
matchups.
and like they have to bonds. You have to play that card on that combat chain when you bonds. Am I glitching out? Okay,
No,
we're
you're
good.
good.
You have to play bonds. The bonds target you have to play on that combat chain, so you like -3 an entire chain. It's insane. Um, so you get a lot of value off this card. So I'm just like, why would I even bother playing Wave? The only matchup where it's really good is it's like uh, Guardian, and I
Hmm.
didn't think there's gonna be too many Guardian. But that is why I ran Iris because Iris is the one card hedge against like a lot of Guardian players. Like if there are any Guardian players that end up playing the first 3 rounds for whatever reason, I'll have access to Iris as that. Okay, I have Haze Bending, I don't have Shimmers, but I do have enough of the list that's like I can just slot in this one card, and it kind of goes with everything else in my list. So I don't have to like develop my list around Iris, and it just is like I'm gonna sit down against a Guardian, and they're gonna be pretty pissed off. Like they don't they're like, what do I do? They're gonna be kind of panicked. Even without shimmers, I think the deck it works out just fine. You don't close the game out as quickly with shimmers, but you will still close the game out pretty relatively quickly. So
For
that's
sure.
why I run those two.
And
As for
then, sorry.
vestige, right?
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, for really quick, for Van Bracer determination, that was mostly going to be for Enigma, I'm guessing. Is that the only
yeah.
matchup you're playing it in?
Mostly for Enigma. I didn't play any Prism mirrors, but I definitely considered playing it into the mirror. It has this interesting interaction in terms of like the angels, because you can't when an opponent has a halo up, you can't attack an angel with your herald, um, because they can just pop halo, kill their angel using ravages,
Hmm.
end your turn when it's selected as like a target. As long as it's not like during the attack, it's just a gift to like specific timing, right?
Right.
So you pop your own angel, and then you're like, oh, I can't get go again. Um, I think it has to be like before the attack hits the combat chain, um, so it can't see the go again.
Hmm.
Weird stuff. But then like that's just so bad. Like you're just like, oh, what do I do? So this allows it so you can swing a 7 power 7 herald or rare edition at them, and if they have no equipment, uh, well, not your edition. You have to throw a 7 power herald at them, and then you use this, and then like, okay, I have to give you 2 cards, and I lose an angel
Right.
instead of just like an angel plus 1 card. Uh, or they just choose to let it hit and also lose the angel. So that's the only time I was really thinking about it. Again, but mainly for Enigma. Yeah, mainly for Enigma.
For sure. And then, yeah, if you want to talk about why you chose Vestige of Soul as your only chess piece.
Full disclosure, I hate the other chess piece. I don't think it's fun. I just don't like. It's just boring to me. Like I don't like just throwing my heralds on the board and like, ooh, look at me, or look at my heralds attack me for 7 7. It just feels like the game plan is so predictable. Um, and Vestige I feel is so much more flexible in the way that you're able to play. So like because I'm running a lot of different auras, I have the option to either swing heralds and beat aggro, or turn. Okay, I need to like pivot into this maybe or a game plan depending on how my opponent is playing out their turns or uh, playing out their deck, right? Another thing is that with Rapture, Rapture's what was the name of it? Rapture, right?
Imperium
I mean,
Rapture?
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't even know the name. I haven't played a card. I don't even know the name. I have like a extended art. I don't even played a card. Um, but like the issue I always think about it, right, is so the game you only need 5 heralds to hit. Realistically, 5 heralds aren't. It's not like no one's gonna let 5 heralds hit and just die, right? But that's the way I kind of like frame it is no one's blocking half a herald unless they can block the whole herald. It doesn't make any sense to half block a herald because why are you giving your opponent 1 card out of your hand, letting the herald hit and letting them get the value off? Like it just that makes no sense. So people are either gonna full block the herald or they're gonna let the herald hit, and that's only gonna happen like 6 to 7 times or 5 to 6 times, right? Because after that your opponent's just gonna be dead. But the thing is, you don't really want to flip angels like that quickly. Some matchups you do, and sometimes it's okay, but like I don't want to be going through my soul as much, especially in this build. And if I was playing again, if I was playing like the pumps, and I was playing like 9 reds, and I was playing all these other cards, sure, I'd probably play Rapture. I think it might be needed in some matches as well. Like example is Dash. I think you might need to run it, and into Kano. It's certainly better to run in Kano because you're not like trying to do any combo turns. So you just flip the angels for free, and then they die, and it's whatever. Uh, you don't have to pay anything to flip the angels, which is really nice. So I think in those two matchups in particular, they're good. And I was thinking about putting it back in the list for those matchups and taking out Iris because Guardian Stonks are down, but that's been something I've been kind of flip flopping on for a while. But Vestige is my go-to. I like the versatility. I like the way it plays with the deck, and I just don't run enough bean cards and like power reduction cards to justify Rapture and like going aggro like that. So
For sure.
yeah,
And speaking of Iris, having both Luminaris, Angel's Glow, and Iris in your list is a big indication that you have two different game plans with the deck. Which of the weapons do you find yourself using more in this metagame, and what matchups are you bringing in the secondary weapon? Which,
yeah. So I will always bring in like Luminar's Angel's Claw or Glow. Yeah, that was the I always bring in that weapon almost every game. Uh, you just have so much flexibility in the way you play. You can still play auras and spam auras out against some matchups. Like Assassin, for example, you can just go double aura, double aura, double aura. And they're just like, do I kill the auras and respect them, or do I try and kill you? Against Iris decks, they'll try and just kill you, just like they would with Luminar if you're just doing the double aura with Luminaris. But the difference with Luminaris is you have more flexibility in terms of okay, these auras can't attack, but now I can turn these auras into like a lot of advantage. It was like one game set I had over the weekend where I had Haze Bending, Merciful, and Odarath, and I was almost about to die to a new player who was just beating me down, aggro, aggro, aggro. Um, but eventually I was able to stabilize, flip over Soraya, and flip over the Angel that gives me a bunch of special shields. And by doing that, I was able to just sit on these special shields, keep throwing damage back at them, you know? So that's kind of like the way I like to play the deck overall, is like setting up these auras and creating a game state that I ask my opponent a question: do you think you can kill me? Because if you cannot kill me, I'm going to use the board state I've created and flip it back on you. Because as you know, Prism especially is the hero that says, I'm at 1 life, you're at 40, I win this. I always win this every time. So that's kind of what I like to do. Iris, I typically only bring in against decks that are that matchups that just feel doomed no matter what I do. Uh, or Guardian. So for Guardian, obviously, it's just like it's annoying for Guardian to deal with this as a card. As I mentioned before, the two matchups I bring into where it's not Guardian is well three. It's Levia, Rhinar, and Bolton, ish, kinda. Me and Chris fight about it a lot. He says it's terrible. Just bring Luminaris. I'm like, there's no way I'll never be Bolton on Luminaris. Um, I've only ever beaten Bolton on Iris in any tournament, by the way. I've played this deck in Pro Tour. I played this deck in Nationals. I've played in all sorts of. I've only ever beat this Bolton with Iris. I'm just saying, it's happened. It's a fact. But so for Lamaya and for Brood in general, KO has you can kind of get away with Luminars, but with the other two, I like the idea of having Iris and just kind of poking these auras out, and forcing them to roll scabs. It's kind of what I asked the question. Can you roll scabs and can you roll better? Because if you can't roll very good on scabs, I just win the game. But if you do roll good on scabs, I'm doomed. Um, Granted, I have considered you can do Luminaris into those matchups. I saw it over the weekend, a Prism versus Levia, and Prism player won on Luminaris. Uh, it would take a few changes, but not too many. So I have considered it. It's not super needed, but it's just my preference in the matchup. But I don't think you need Iris into Levia and Reinhardt. You don't have to play it. Bolton, on the other hand, it's just so difficult. It's just such a bad matchup. You can just kill your aura so easily. He can fatigue you out super easily as well. He has so many three blocks. He has so much armor. He can play so many D reacts. Like it's just you never know what's like how he's approaching you. And so whenever I have beaten Bolton, it's usually by setting up like triple aura. They might not respect it. They may not. Um, but getting a bunch of auras out and just tap 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 for a few turns, and your opponent's like, oh, I'm just dead, because it's easy to block out two heralds. You know, you have a popper, and you can block out with your hand, and you can just swing your weapon for free. I like an aura. But when you're doing a bunch of aura game plans, well, you can't unless they get an early uh, legendary his dead wife's necklace, whatever it's called.
Spirit of
Um,
Arena, yeah.
yeah. Unless they get that early, they can't just they can't double tap your auras. So they can only like attack you a bit, kill an aura, haze bending triggers, get a spectral shield, swing 4 for 4. You're swinging 12 off 3 cards, and then you play an aura at the end of it. Feels super good. Uh, it's not the greatest, but it's how I beat in Bolton before, and it's felt pretty consistent. So I like just it's just one card compared to like if I was to do any other game plan, I feel like I have to add like 4 or 5 cards just to deal with Bolton and maybe some other matchups. So I like as a one of sideboard tech.
All right.
Yep.
So, moving on to the core of the deck, um, the inclusion of Iris of Reality in your list and being only on Vestige's Soul, I think means that you're playing more blues than your typical mono lag list. You have up to 20 blues, including the 3 haze bendings in your inventory, and then you have a few less red heralds with only the copies of Herald of Triumph and Wartune Herald. Um, and I assume that being on Vestige of Soul also means that you want more of these yellow instant speed auras like Ode to Wrath and Parable of Humility for your
For sure.
big Toma Divinity turns. Um, but besides all that, you still have some spicy inclusions in the list. Talk to me about Toma Fiendel and the Fable Great Library of Solana and why you're playing them in your list.
Absolutely. So Toma Pendle, I mean, we you kind of mentioned yourself, I'm playing all these auras, right? So what extends more auras is playing Toma Pendle. Um I there, I there's it's an interesting card. It is yellow, of course. Um, but it's interesting because like I've played with this card in many illusionist decks before. I played it in Dromai for a time as well, and it can have some of the same applications as Dromai when she played against Runeblade, for example. So like she played against Runeblade with Toma Fendel, she popped this out, gained a bunch of life, using the action point off Dromai, put out a bunch more dragons. So the idea of this card is okay, I play Toma Fendel and Prism on a Soraya turn or whenever, right? Maybe I have like 2 auras in hand. I can gain a bunch of life against, for example, KO, which is one of the matchups I do bring Toma Fendel into. I'll gain a bunch of life, maybe like 4 or 5. But bringing me from 2 to 7 is like huge. Uh, Now that turns, I need to block like every attack with 2 cards into I can block every attack with 1 card, or maybe just no block an attack. And I can establish double to triple aura off the Tome of Fendel, which sometimes you can only establish maybe 1 or 2 auras. Um, it's super nice when you have an arc light in hand, or if you're digging for the arc light, still you just need an extender. Um, so overall, it just kind of helps bring like it's just like a little extra push to help bring more auras on board. Uh, and it also just helps like gain a little life to stabilize against those decks where they'll push you down really low very early before you can establish a bunch of board state. So the main ones I like to use some Fendo against is like KO, and then I'll use against Zen as well, not to like because he's gonna kill you in 1 turn. So life gain doesn't matter too much, but it's more so you try and dig for ALS to throw it on board, or dig and try and put like Genesis next to like an Ode to Wrath and next to another Merciful to get like all 3 of your guard, or like maybe your Parable, right? Just get 3 of your like yellow auras on board and say, now you have a question. Now you need to, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna solve this board state? Uh, that's the main reason I play Tome of Fendel. It's just board state control. Add
For
a bit more
sure.
to it. Great library on the other hand. I think this card's broken. It's insane. I play it literally in every matchup, which people think really playing the aggro. You're insane. I brought into playing against Alex once. Uh, he was on Kano and I was on Prism. I'm just like, I can never beat Alex's Kano. I beat every other Kano, but not Alex. He always high rolls me. So what I did, I was like, oh, I'll high roll him, and I brought in library against him at like a PQ, and I drew it turn one. I'm like, I'm so good at this game. Great library. I have 5 cards for Rustic. You can never beat me. Um, but yeah, just I play so many yellows. I play all these yellow auras. It just fits really well into the game plan with Vestige. On top of that, with Ode to Wrath, you create like a secondary win con. So everyone's always so focused on like this ALS loop combo. That's Prism's main thing, but she has so much more she can do. And by having great library with Ode to Wrath, you can effectively turn uh, like a 5 card hand to like 3 attacks plus an angel, right? Sounds like ridiculous, but if you have like an arsenal, you have 5 cards in hand, arsenal, you can attack, 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 flip an angel, because one of those attacks probably hit, flip an angel off a blue, and then swing with that angel.
Right.
Um, so you just have so many options with the library, and I can't see myself ever taking it out uh, unless we get like a meta where every single deck is running landmarks, in which case Lamau, hilarious. But yeah.
For sure. And we will have this deck list link in the video description below. And in this link, we do have a matchups tab where you can kind of get an idea of what Austin wants to do in most of his matchups. I know not all of these are set in stone. Like, you like to change it on the go, especially if you're doing the aggro race plan. But if you guys wanted just a general idea of like his sideboarding plans, including all the new heroes with News and Enigma, be sure to check out the matchup tab.
Yeah, and feel free to always explore. And I mean, if you guys ever think of anything, leave it in the comments below. Like maybe a way you might play the matchup, especially the new heroes. Because I always change things like a lot when I play Prism, like in certain matchups. Like against New this weekend, I was bringing 63 cards in because I wasn't sure what they do. I've never read an assassin card in my life. I don't know what they do. So I was like, maybe they're still trying to mail you. It's like who knows. Um, uh, but then the list I have here, I presented only doing 60 because I realized against new, for example, the only important thing is you just want to make sure you get your Figment of your edition out on board as quickly as possible. It has to be like the first one, and don't flip your helmet for it like immediately. It's just a waste of your helmet. But like if a Herald ever hits, or if you ever get like a merciful trigger off a Herald, put it in the soul, you always want to grab it, even if it's unoptimal, uh, just so they can't banish it off the top. That's the only reason. I was very worried over this weekend if someone did that to me because I'm like, oh, that really sucked. Thankfully, that did not happen, and that's why I put the extra cards in there, just so it wouldn't happen. I do the same thing against Aracne. Just put a bunch of cards in. Can't get all my cards, but I have 66 cards in deck. Um, but yeah,
For sure.
that is. There's a lot of ways. I made the deck to be very flexible, but definitely more focused on building the board state as much as possible. And against the decks that don't want to block like Ninja, you can still race because you're still throwing 6 power cards at them that have on hit gain you 4 value. You were doing good. You know,
Yeah,
be
definitely.
doing good.
And then, like, obviously you did really well with her in Minneapolis, but were you happy with your choice to bring Prism to Nationals? And would you recommend this list to players for the remaining Nationals events this season, or even going as far as like Pro Tour Amsterdam?
Mm, I think she's. I mean, I love her. I play her again and again and again. But like I've talked to many players who have played her. Pheno Black, for example. Me and him always discuss solutions tech, and it's just like I'm like, hey man, you want to play Prism? He's like, I'm not. I hate that combo deck. I hate that Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I don't want to play this. I'm like, I understand. It's a very. It can go both ways. The deck has the ability to just do the most insane plays you've ever seen in Flesh and Blood. It makes you feel like you're playing a whole different card game. And another time you're like, wow, this deck sucks. What idiot designed this deck? What idiot is playing Prism? Sometimes she just feels really bad. Uh, if you're playing the Rapture list as well, like she just feels kind of straightforward sometimes as well. So she only has 32 life. You know, she's a little fragile. She doesn't have as much time to set up. She doesn't play classic flesh and blood. So like, I think if you ever are into board state decks, or if you like you enjoy playing like games that had a lot of board state control, or you just enjoy doing crazy combos, I definitely recommend giving her a try. For nationals, you know, if you've had like a lot of time playing with her, you have a lot of time to prepare and get reps on her. I think she's really good. Um, but I do think she's kind of a rep heavy hero a little bit. The only reason I feel comfortable with her is because she's the only hero I like ever play in any tournament. So like it's like Kano, right? It's actually I mean me and Alex we're always like Prism is just illusionist Kano. That's all it is because you're just doing illusions combos. You can play the aggro version, uh, which is like Kano also has different ways. You don't just have to go like crazy combo with Kano. You can also like stack Kano, and that's kind of like aggro Prism, I guess. Um, but yeah, she's a bit complicated. Don't ever feel discouraged if you're not doing too well with her. She's hard to work with, but I think she's very rewarding once you put enough time and effort into her. And if you can put enough time and effort in her in this short amount of time, yeah, it's a give her a go. You know, 100%. But obviously, the good thing is that the meta has to become a bit more linear, so you only have to like worry about Zen. But the other issue, and something you have to like take note of, is that Prism has been doing well. She just did well at the EU as well. I think I've seen her like in the top eight in almost every top eight national so far. The better she does, I always say the better Prism starts to do, the worse she gets because it's easy to counter Prism. Much like Kano, when Kano started doing really well, everyone's like, Kano's the best deck. Let me bring AB6 in my opponent. So how do you have AB6? I don't know. You just have you AB. Why do you have AB6? I don't know. You do. You just have it. I have I'm gonna bomb my EPOT AB5 on my opponent. L dance. But yeah, so it's she's the more she starts doing well, the harder she gets. And I've also seen Dash doing very well recently as well. And Dash is a really bad matchup for Prism because they can obviously, especially this deck. So Rapture, you might have a better chance. You can get around like some of the poppers. Obviously, you can't get around a max velocity block for 10. Um, but you don't have to focus so much on auras. This deck, however, can't raise Dash as well as Rapture build can, and just you just I don't know. The matchup sucks. The matchup is hard. She can block really well as well. Everything has 3 blocks. You're playing Dash IO. Maybe there's a chance. Uh, but then she can just control your auras like it's a joke. So don't even think about ALSing her. You probably won't be able to establish a single aura on board unless they just ignore it. So if Dash and Dash IO is very heavy in your meta or in your local area, I'd probably recommend not taking her. Unless you feel like you can dodge her or beat her. But yeah,
For sure.
that's it. Yeah, it's an interesting metagame so far.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing all your thoughts about the newest version of the Light Illusionist, Prism Awakener of Soul. Before we go, do you have any closing thoughts or shout outs or anything that you want to plug before we end the video?
Uh, I mean, shout out obviously to all AGE, uh, you, you, Alex, Bryce, Jonah. Let me start going down the list. Like, who do I not thank?
No, there's too many
Damn it.
members.
Yeah, there's so many members. Yeah, what's the biggest wolf factions? Yeah, we're getting there, for sure. No, but I mean, I've had so many people play test with me. Matt, uh, running games with me on Enigma, like a day before top eight, just to get some reps. It didn't matter. I got high rolled. But you know, it was a thought that counts. You know, the team was always there for me to help run those games, and I really appreciate just everyone being over there to like help me out. Obviously, Zach as well, running games with me whenever I'm like, hey, I need Enigma games. Um, but yeah, it was nice having the whole team to help get all these reps and slowly help me like get this deck refined to where it was.
For sure.
I do have a Twitter. Card Game Trash is my Twitter account. Uh, so I don't post too much on it, but I do post every so often. Mainly just any lists that I win with, I'll post that. Or if I do anything well with that, post that every so often. So yeah, and I mean, shout out to I haven't gone to locals in a while, but shout out to local game stores as well, of course, in Arizona. Uh, like Gamers Guild, I go to quite often. Sun Valley Gaming, I go to as well. Just going to my locals. It's not. I don't bring Prism as often because no one likes to play against that deck anymore. But just being able to like play in person, I think this deck, it's so easy to play on Talshar with this deck. Um, but when you sit down in real life, for me at least, the Talishar games don't translate as well into like being able to play with the cards physically. Uh, and like you're doing so much, you're moving cards like in 5 different zones. You're like moving them under your hero, you're grabbing your deck, you're playing a card out from your deck, you're flipping it over. Like you're doing so much stuff that's just always automated. That being able to play at your locals, you can just like sit down in person and play with the deck. I think is going to help you a lot. A bit more than Talishar games, honestly. It takes a little longer, but it's quite nice if you do that. So.
Nice.
Yes.
And what's the next event that we'll see you at?
Amsterdam. We finally got the hotel. Chris finally got it. So I won't be sleeping on the street. I will be there. I have not decided my deck. Cap. I mean, of course, I always want to play Prism. But I have to kind of take a look at how this metagame evolves. We have a few more nationals this week. I am looking at Dash because I do play Mech as well. Mech is my other hero archetype that I like to focus on. So I am. This is like the first meta where Dash has been viable in so long, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. Then there's Riptide. I've never played that deck, but it's pretty funny. This guy plays it. There's a Riptide main over here. For sure. But yeah, I'll be going to Amsterdam for sure, and then I'll be at the pre-release for the next set as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Austin, for being a part of our very first Deck Tech on the AGE YouTube channel. If you guys have any questions or want to know any more about Prism, please leave a comment in the video down below, and we will have Austin answer every question that gets asked.
Every question? Oh, you're paying me big bucks after this, right? I'm expecting a nice order to talk about this one, but
for sure, you got it. And then please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to see more deck techs in the future, let us know what you're interested in. I'm sure we can get the members to come on and share their lists. But thank you again, Austin, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.